used to call me a wannabe New Jack, and I hate that word wannabe. I never give up. I always got this mentality that people like don't believe in me, so I like to prove them wrong.
You've always resonated with me. I feel like I speak for all the kids that have grown up to love this and have grown up to idolize you and what y'all have done for us entirely as young Black, brown, Hispanic people.
Are there still people that you want to get in that ring with?
Cody Rhodes.
He looked at me, he was like, you gotta want to be here, bro. And like literally everybody in the room just kind of looked over at me.
What's got one friend who's a douche? I love a simple. That's my dude. Ring of Honor was like a joke, just like Homicide.
When I walked into the room, they all screamed and shouted, and it was crazy. That's the biggest message, is to inspire the next generation. It's the reason why Homicide is sitting here in a podcast with me.
If this is a dream that you want, you're gonna go for it.
Our first guest has 2 years in the business and has made his name known in promotions like Pro Wrestling Grind, Battle Club Pro, where he's the current battleweight champion. And please welcome A-Game Joe Alexander.
What's going on, everybody?
What's up? Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for
having me. And our next guest, absolutely. Our next guest is a legend who has held gold in so many companies in the industry, NWA, TNA, Ring of Honor, just to name a few. He's left a trail of violence and iconic matches with some of the greatest names his business has to offer. Please welcome Independent Wrestling Hall of Famer, the notorious 187 Homicide.
Yeah, for having me. Thank you.
What's up? Thank you so much. Yeah, this is so cool. And I was talking to Joe a little bit before, but this is extra special, an all New Yorker episode here. But I always like to start at the beginning. I'm going to Joe first with this one, and I want to know just your journey into pro wrestling, how it started for you, and what led you into it all.
I mean, so pro wrestling has been the very earliest memory I've had in my life. I think one of the very first memories I could recollect very vividly is SummerSlam 2003. My brother won tickets on the radio for that event, and that was the one in New Jersey, and the opener was Kurt Angle and Rey Mysterio, and it's just something that will never escape my mind. I was like about 3-4 years old, and it's just something that I still to this day have a vivid memory of, just like the entrances, the pyro, all that good stuff. And to journey into becoming a pro wrestler, I mean, I kind of went through that hiatus, that little phase where like after high school, after college, I just gave it up. Didn't really see it as like me becoming a professional. So I just went down the road of education, and I was in college, and one of my friends that I had made while in college found a pro wrestling school out in Brooklyn, T2T Wrestling Academy. He was just searching down Reddit, and he was just like, hey, you want to check this out? And we were just on my couch in my apartment, just kind of sitting there, and we were like, yeah, let's go. And I mean, that's kind of how it started. I wish it was like such an in-depth story, but like it was literally, we were on my couch just chilling, and he was on Reddit, and he was like, hey man, I found this school in Brooklyn, you down to go? And I was like, man, I'm not doing nothing else, like let's do it. Like, and that was kind of how it all started. But pro wrestling has been in my life since some of my very first earliest memories. I was never the Barney Power Rangers kid. My parents would always tell me I was always into either Jerry Springer or Monday Night Raw. So that was it.
Wait, that's awesome. No, I love that you following the journey. And Homicides, same question for you really, and if you resonate with Joe's journey at all too.
My journey is kind of crazy. I would say I was kind of locked up in 1994, and my friend told me, you want to go to a wrestling school. I didn't believe there was a wrestling school in Brooklyn. And they took me to this bodega, like a grocery store. And I saw a wrestling ring, and boom, man, I fell in love. And the guy, his name is Pedro Rodriguez. He told me it's $25 to join. I was tripping. I was like, for real? Okay, so I give him $25, and the rest is history, man. I'm still here. God bless. But yeah, man, I came from a long way. I always remember it was a cold night going to Southside Brooklyn with my boy, telling me there's a wrestling school, and I went and yeah, and I'm here right now. I'm alive.
Definitely are. No, and you're killing it. You're still killing it too. Yeah, every interview I hear anyone ever talk about you, you're one of your traits that comes up, Homicide, is that you're so humble and you always remember where you come from and you keep those roots. Why do you think that's so important? I'd love to ask you.
Um, don't get me wrong. I got people that mad at me, like include my brother. Stop being so humble. Stop being this. You gotta be a dick. You gotta have a better. I don't know, man. I grew up with a great family. I was raised with great people. You know, even I was in the gang, but there was good people in the gang. You know, very positive. They want to see me grow up and be good, and that's kind of funny. I'm telling you this because it's part of a gang, but that's another story. But I really don't know, man. I'm just afraid of people that I'm just afraid, like not coming where I came from, man. I mean, I told one of my guys, you know, you're from Brooklyn, New York City, and they said, yeah, I am. No, I'm talking about where you're from, where you're raised. You know, like the people that raised you, the people that got you in the wrestling business. I'm very afraid of that. That's one of my fears in wrestling. Of course, that and also drowning. But I think from my point, man, I'm just afraid. Forget where I came from. You know, I'm still the same guy. A lot of people telling me why you never made it to WWF, WWE, whatever. You know, I'm good. You know, my passport is good. I travel all over the world. I met great people. You know, I don't mess around. You know, I'm one of those guys. I like to help people out. Of course, people that help me, I want to give them a receipt. I like to help the young guys, the future. Because if there's no future, there's no homicide. You gotta help the future. And I'm just very humble, and anybody who don't like it, they can kiss my ass. I like humble.
No, that's super admirable. Seriously, I love to hear that. And speaking of you, Homicide, you're just talking about family. Joe, a question I like to ask sometimes: what were your parents' reaction when you chose to go rather into wrestling than stay with like the more education field that you were in?
Oh, my mom's hated.
You what? Similar, Joe?
Honestly, like not necessarily, just because my family knew how much, like my father and I, and not even not even because we're in the space, but like my father and I were up every Thursday night, every Monday night, every Friday night watching Raw, Impact, and SmackDown. So like they grew up, they knew that this was kind of like my dream. This was exactly what I wanted from day one. When I could say words, it was 1, 2, 3, or it was WWE or something like that. You know what I mean? So it was like,
I love it.
When I had called them on the phone and I was like, hey, like I'm gonna join a wrestling school and that's what I'm gonna do, and they were like, yeah, okay, like we kind of figured you were going down this path anyways, and so they were very supportive, and I think that I've just been blessed, and I'm grateful, forever grateful, that my family has just been so supportive. Just so, I mean, they're there, and my family has taken drives to Indiana, Detroit, everywhere that I have ventured out to. They have been there for me. So I'm just blessed that I can say that I have that, that support. I have a great family. I come from a good home. So I'm just blessed that I have that. They're the reasons why I have a good head on my shoulders and all that. And they show love, so that when I have a family of my own, I know how to show love. They've expressed it in such a good way. So I'm forever grateful for that.
Oh.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, and Homicide, your thoughts on that? I know you just said your mom hated it. Do you remember what her exact words were when you told her?
She just, what the hell are you talking about? Pro wrestling. Like, damn, and I mean, that's the first thing come my mind. Like when I go to Japan or any big company, I always think about my mom saying, she always tells me like, that's not a job. You got to go for a real job. And I mean, I'm Puerto Rican, you know. Puerto Rican mothers are very strict, you know, they're old school. And yeah, my mother always hated it. But when I made it, I guess I made it and got toys, video games, she sold magazines. She was kissing my butt, telling me, "Yo, I need some 8x10 for my friends." I said, "Oh, now you kissing my oh, okay." I remember you just yell at me, scream at me, like, "Oh, this is not a real job," because wrestling is my shoe job. You know, it's my real job, and like I said, I do everything: produce, coach, perform. I'm like Bo Jackson of pro wrestling, man. I do everything, you know. But yeah, my mother hated my. I grew up with my stepdad. My stepdad was like, "Hey, man, that's what you want. Go for it." You know, my dad supported me no matter what. But my mom's, she hated. Now it's a different story. Different. I tell you, I took her to one of my shows for the first time. I wrestled for 28 years, and I took her to a show for the first time, man. She think wrestling is, well, it is real, but you know what I mean. Like she uh she was very happy and scared at the same time, you know. And but yeah, man, she hates it, man. She hates wrestling, but now it's different. It's a different story now.
That's so cool to
I
see.
wanted to ask.
Yeah, feel free. Yeah.
I wanted to ask Homicide something. You had mentioned, when you had started wrestling, like you felt like you were drowning in, like, sometimes even to this day, like when you struggle, when you battle through that, like what would you say for someone who's in my position is 2 years into even recollect with someone who's 28 years in, where it's like, you have that feeling like you're drowning in.
My opinion, man, never give up, man. I can't swim. I can't. But if I'm drowning, I'm gonna keep up and swim till I see something. I never give up. I always got this mentality that people like don't believe in me, and I'm a failure. So I like to prove them wrong. You know, I love pro wrestling, and I will do anything to make it to the top. I'll just be happy. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that I need to be in Madison Square Garden. Even that's one of my goals, but I want to be Homicide of all names. Homicide is the top name right now. It's almost like a franchise. You know what I mean? It's like the Yankees or the Knicks, even though they suck, but that's a different story. But I just I just want I just want to be happy, you know, and say like I never give up, man. Even though I hate saying this because it's a cheap plug. Look at John Cena, always that flag, never give up. He's right. Never give up, man. If this is a dream that you want, you're gonna go for it. You know, you're gonna travel the world, you're gonna meet new people, you're gonna be on television. One of my boys was telling me something about, do you understand you was in national television with the name Homicide? I'm like, I'm grateful. I never thought about that. You know, like say my mom's and my family didn't accept me as a pro wrestler. Now time changed. It's different now. Now they give me mad love. They give me a lot of love, a lot of support. So I would say never give up, man. Go for the goals, man. It's almost like Recipe J Briscoe, reach for the sky, man. Because that's your goals. It's sky. You gotta get it, man. Never give up. Never.
For sure, I appreciate that, man. For real.
It's not about drowning, man. Like sometimes I feel like each day, like man, I think I'm dying over here, man. And
Yeah.
like right now, this is my road to the end, if that makes sense. Even though I don't want to sound like Terry Funk. He always saying he's retired or whatever. But I just feel that this is you could say my road to the end, you know. But I want a closure. Anybody who got a great, talented, a great opinion about themselves, they need a closure. Like wrestling, this is what I love. I'm, I'm very smart. I'm a genius, you know, with this. Maybe I'm not Bill Gates, not these nerds from Harvard University, but in pro wrestling, I'm very smart. I love to do it. I am gonna get my closure, and I'm gonna be happy. You know, I always say that my closure is wrestle at the MSG. You know, and for some reason I went to Seattle and something hit me and say like just be appreciate, be grateful what you got, and go for the goals, and that's what I'm doing right now, and everything's in me. Gotta be very confident. That's why I tell people, man, be confident yourself. This is what you like to do, be confident. If you're not confident yourself, then you're not going nowhere. You're not, be confident yourself. You believe yourself and you believe you're good, then something good's gonna happen. I'm not a religious person. My wife is a pastor. That's a different story because I'm a still outlaw. But I've been hearing her, man. She always tells me, man, believe yourself. You never know what can happen. And she's right.
No, I appreciate that, man. Like, coming from you, hearing that from you, it's like it's crazy because we feel like we can't connect, or we feel like we can't uh feel the same way as somebody, who's been there, done that, like like yourself. And to hear the things that you say that are sometimes I feel, or sometimes I think about, it's like it's crazy hearing it, but it's also like a breath of fresh air, because we all go through, we all have different walks of life, different stories, but we all have those thoughts, like, like, damn, I'm drowning here, I gotta keep going. Or it's like, damn, this is hard, but this is piling up on me. There's a lot on my plate. But it's like you said, it's like that never give up mentality, that keep going mentality. It's like, hearing it from yourself and then feeling it, it's just a good feeling to know that there's other people out there that have that thoughts, that have those feelings.
Yeah, man. And like I said, man, never give up, man. Like it's part of life, man. You're always gonna feel like you're drowning because that's part of life. Life does that. It's up to you that you're gonna keep up and keep moving. That's what I did, man. Like I know. I think my motivational was people sees me as a failure. I'm gonna prove them wrong, and I sure did. I really did. I'm happy one man right now. Everybody wants to be a millionaire. They want that fine house. Nah, man, you gotta live good. You gotta have people surround you who love you. I got 2 kids, a great family that loves me, supporting me. You know, and the crazy life that I do is called pro wrestling. I'm good, man. I go to like NWA, perfect example. This weekend, they show me mad love and respect. I go to New Japan Pro Wrestling like in 2 weeks. I'm supposed to wrestle a guy named Tom Lawler, and everybody gives me mad love, especially the Japanese people. I don't even know what the hell they're saying, but I know it's love. So
For
um,
sure.
that's one thing, man. That's part of life, man. You're gonna feel like that, man. That's the way it is. It's really up to you. You gotta keep moving. You got legs, man. Move your legs. It's like a car with an engine. You don't want your engine to run out. You got to put some oil change on the engine, So just keep
Yeah,
going. You got this.
I appreciate that, my brother, for real.
I already love the connection, really. I mean, that's such wise words, Homicide, really. Joe, to throw it back to you, I'd love to get into your training. We heard about Homicide's training in a bodega at first. What was your first rounds like?
It's really interesting. My very first day of training, I came up with Logan Black. I've had a lot of other hands dipping the pot as well. My main trainer I would say Logan Black. I've had training from Tracy Williams, Willow Nightingale, Big Game Leroy. I've had training from MV Young. So I've had a bunch of people help, but Logan Black has been the head trainer for the majority of time that I have been there. And my very first day of training, it's crazy because I've done sports all my life. I did football, amateur wrestling. I did for about 14, 15 years. I did baseball for about like 11 years. So I was a very active kid, and when coming up in sports, organized sports, you have a set thing, a set routine, a set this, a set that, and you go into pro wrestling, and it's kind of the same thing, man. You start with your roles. After your roles, you run the ropes. After you run the ropes, after you do this, there's a set way of doing things. But for me, I kind of had to have that like ego death, because I was coming in from organized sports. I am an athletic person, so it's like I went in day one. It was very, I was seeing everything, and I was kind of watching from afar. I wasn't really engaged, but I was kind of watching from afar. And Logan Black, my head trainer, he had looked over and he had realized, and he stopped his lesson and he looked at me, and I would never forget this story. I always tell the story, but I would never forget it. He looked at me and he was like, "Yo, you gotta want to be here, bro." And like literally everybody in the room just kind of looked over at me, and I looked at him, and I was like, "All right, I exactly see where this is going. I see what I have to do here. I see what I got to put in. Like, it's go time." And I think from that very first moment of that going forward, I've just been it's been 110% since then. I give training my all, no matter what, where it's at, like no matter how tired, nothing. So that very first day of training kind of was the introduction, and it's kind of like a corny thing, but it's like, the first day is like your introduction into what the rest of your career or whatever is going to be like. That very first day was kind of like the introduction of what everything is going to be like, and um you got to want to be here, you got to want it. So that's exactly the takeaway that I had from that. And that very moment there, I was like, all right, I'm keyed in. I'm keyed in right from that moment. And I think I've done just that. I had my first match 2.5 months into training. And was I ready? Not absolutely not. But it's like you got to get thrown into that fire. You got to just do it, man. And I've just been forever blessed and grateful that I've been able to have that will, that mindset, that just, I got to do it. I got to be in there. Just throw me in that fire, whatever, I could do it. And I think I could have credit that to that day one of training where Logan looked at me. He was like, "Yo, you got to want to be here, bro." So I think that's that my training experience so far from the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's such an important skill also just for life. It's cool that you were able to learn that like right off the bat in your training. Homicide, I'd love to get your thoughts on that too. What do you think about Joe's training early on, and how yours was in the bodega too?
Um, well, I had one jackass, basic trainers. One guy, his name is Benji. I'm talking about very local guys. They taught me basics for like about 3 years. Then one time I went to New Jersey for a show called Jersey Pro, and I met Manny Fernandez, Rich Bull. Um, I was one of those guys that get beat up, but always keep coming back up. I like Rocky Balboa and wrestling, and he liked my style. He liked my, I guess, tiger mode, and he just took me on this wing, and I started traveling with him, teaching me everything. After that, I had my own school back in '98, and I had my own ring. I was teaching myself. I was a big fan of the Japanese wrestling, the old school wrestling style, the NWA, AWA, Memphis. The list keep going. I take that little clip and put in my style, put it in blender, and I just keep studying. It's like a guy who's doing a test, a big test, and need to study. That was me. And I met guys like the Dudley Boys. They mentored me. Um, man, there was a lot of people that mentored me, and I know like back in '94, I had these two guys, regular basics, and Manny Fernandez. He's that guy. I don't know if you know. He used to be a champion for NWA. Team up with Rick Rude, and he told me everything: psychology, the footwork, just everything, the toughness. And I was already tough back then, but he made more tough because I was a big fan of the West Texas, and guys came from like Bruce brother Terry Funk, and Terry Funk is one of my idols. You know, Charlie Blanchard, even Tito Santana. And he told me stories, count stories, and I just took it, and like I said, I put it in my blender and did my own style. So everything what I do, even though I represent New York City, I'm a New Yorker wrestler. well, you got that little taste of the West Texas style on me, and it works, man. It works so awesome. So I'm happy for my boy Benji back in the days. Even this guy named Angel Santiago, he was a trainer. He's a jackass, you know. But Manny Finlay is the guy, man. He's the man. I love him to death, man, because man, he did everything.
That's so cool. And it definitely works. You put it into a blender, like you're saying. That's awesome because you got a very unique style, Homicide. You always have. And how I'm curious, how long did it take for you mentioned earlier that your buddy was talking to you and saying, you know, the fact you wrestled on national TV with a name like Homicide. How early on in your career did you adopt that name, Homicide?
Well, it's kind of funny because in the beginning I was calling myself the Lion Terror. I had that character, and I was bored. And my friend was telling me to be yourself. I don't know what that means. Like, what you mean be myself? So told me the way you are in the streets, just be yourself. Okay. And one day I saw I think it was ECW. I saw Plug Enemy, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be myself now because I'm not a fan of Plug Enemy. I became myself. And one day I saw the gangsters, and that really tripped me out. But that's another story. But years, like about, I would say like 10 years, I had a difficult, hard time getting booked places. You know what I mean? Because the name Homicide means murder. I was doing a lot of shows that had kids. You know, kids was chanting my name, Homicide. I'm telling them, do you know what that means? And no, okay, keep chanting. Plus, people's calling me, used to call me a wannabe New Jack, and I hate that word wannabe. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
Jack is phenomenal guy. You know, um, there's a story that me and him supposed to be the new gases when the gases ECW closed down. We were supposed to go on TV, but too late. That's when Ring of Honor came in, and I joined them. And I still had a difficult time. This is the part that I was drowning, but I'm not gonna give up. I'm gonna keep going, keep going, keep going. And one day I went to Puerto Rico and I wrestled Conan around Killings, and I didn't even know who Conan was. You know, I saw him on TV. He's a Mexican legend, and he liked my style. He likes my image, and he told me, "Yo, I need your number." I give my number to him, and I remember I did a show in Ring of Honor, and Mick Foley was there. And he told me call this guy, you know, and tell him that I hooked you up, and you're gonna work for WWE. At the same time, Conan called me and told me I got this new thing coming up. It's called Total Nonstop Action, Orlando, Florida. I'm doing a new project. It's called the Latin American Exchange. I'm like, okay, let me think about it. So right now, this is 2005. I'm like blessed. I'm like, oh my God, like I got two companies, you know, feeling me. All right. A big TNA, the reason why, because it was a light schedule, and it's a new project. And I remember December 29, 2005, the first thing I did is attack Bullet Bob Armstrong and had to feud with the new Los, but I had a different name. And that's when I realized, wow, the name Homicide is on national TV. Like I say, never give up. You know, I never give up, man. People like that see me as a failure. Oh, look at the name we got, man. That means murder. You know, all right, I'm gonna prove you wrong. And mind you, I didn't like the name. You know, it was a joke. You know, my friend told me like change your name, Lantern, to something else, and I was like, to what? And somebody was on the run and cops the show and Fox 5 for Homicide. So I was like, oh, let me use Homicide for 2 weeks, and it became like 28 years. And I wanted to
Wow.
change my name. Like I came back to Ring of Honor last year, and I had these shorts and have my real name. My real name is D. Eraso, and I wanted to change my name. But of course, nobody want me to change my name. Conan, who I'm still talking to, one of my mentors, always telling me, dude, never change that name, man. Homicide fits you. And I'm like, but I'm talking about market. I want sponsors. I want to be market. You know, I want to have good things happening. And so far, man, I don't know. Things are, things are good. Like I'm tripping sometimes. Don't get me wrong. I be laughing about myself. Like I can't be just going there. It's a crazy world. You never know, man. You never know. You could be like MC Hammer. Look what happened to him. He became a billionaire. Lost a lot of money, but he still got respect from the streets. So the name Homicide, yeah, man, it was a joke and it became something that I feel like is trademark and it's a franchise right now. Like, like there's no retirement in wrestling. I got that from Eddie Kingston, but he always tell me there's no retirement in wrestling. You just walk away. If I do walk away, people gonna say, "Hey, do you know this guy named Homicide?" Like, wow, okay, 20 years later, people are still gonna talk about Homicide, and I think that's kind of cool, man. Because Homicides
Really
came
cool.
from a street thing, man. And right now, I feel like Homicide is like another version of Mine Do with Petsy. It's not big time like Petsy, but people gonna know the name Homicide. Like, it's kind of cool, man. Like, it's almost like I love hip hop, and Jay Z said this ridiculous rhyme. Talk about that Yankee hats. He wears Yankee hats, and you know the Yankees think about Jay Z. I don't believe that, but what I'm trying to say is that when people think of Homicide in wrestling, they'll think about me. It's just like my music. I love Kill Bill, and like and Quincy Joe
Mm.
made this beat. Uh, they're not saying that's a Kill Bill. That's a Quincy Joe music. No, they're gonna say that's the Homicide song. Look at Beanie Siegel. The truth. That's a Homicide song. That's not Beanie Siegel. So to me, it's kind of trippy, man. It's kind of like weird and a fantastic kind of thing, you know. Now, like I said, I'm very blessed, man. That's all I always say, man. Never give up, man. I hate that John Cena slogan, but he's so right. He is right.
Yeah. Yeah, I say honestly, I feel like with that, like what I could say is that you've always resonated with me just because I'm a young Black Puerto Rican kid, and a lot of my family is from South Bronx or from Puerto Rico, so it's like when I first saw when I first saw LAX on television, that was gonna resonate with me regardless. You know what I mean? That was like these are Latinos, Latinas, and these are people that I understand. Like they
Yeah.
come from where I come from, and it's like this is people who represent the poor, the people who represent the struggle, people who represent the things that like coming up in life that it's not on a silver platter. And I've had people in my life in organized sports and all that stuff tell me like I haven't worked for nothing, or I haven't earned this, or people that tell and I feel like you represented that. Like you represented that, like that that attitude, like, nah, man, like you take, you take, you don't ask, and that resonated with me. And I feel like I speak for all the kids that have grown up to love this and have grown up to idolize you and LAX and what y'all have done for us as entirely as young, Black, brown, Hispanic people. You've definitely set that tone. So like the name Homicide will never. You've taken that connotation of homicide and you've turned it into something so powerful and positive and beautiful that it's like, there's nothing we could say but thank you for that, for real.
Yeah, and it's crazy because that was one of my goals, man. That was one of my major goals. Not only that I can make it, whatever that is called, but I want people out there, from the hood, every color, that hey man, if this I could do it, I could do it too. That's one of my goals, man. I always tell all my students, tell everybody, man, if I can make it, everybody can make it. There's no excuses. No excuses. I know a lot of people, they'd be like, man, I don't know, man. And I'm talking about heavyweights, guys that should be on TV right now. Man, I proved them wrong, man. That was one of my goals, man. Yo, if I could make it, everybody in this world, if you got no talent, you will have talent and you will make it. And that's crazy you mention that, man, but that was one of my goals.
Yeah, it definitely stuck out, man, and resonated with me. So, thank you for that, and I'm glad that you got to fulfill that.
No,
Yeah.
thank you, man, for listening.
No.
It's it's crazy that it was a joke, by the way, Homicide, that name, because like, I mean, similar to what Joe's saying, at least I couldn't imagine anyone else being Homicide. I mean, I couldn't imagine your name being anything other than Homicide. So it's nuts. And I wanted to, Joe, something specific for you that I thought was really cool you were able to do so early on in your career was speak to the wrestling club. And if nobody knows what that is, they should definitely check it out. It's so cool, a club out of Brooklyn. But you should describe it and tell us what that experience was like, really.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it's an honor to explain about them. So the wrestling club is a after school program in a charter school in Brooklyn, New York, that is run by Victor Taylor Perry, who is a teacher for a bunch of kids there at this charter school. And what they do there is that they do assignments on wrestling, they watch wrestling matches, they watch, events. They're even going out to WrestleMania this year in LA, which is really dope. You're
That's
taking a
so
bunch of
cool. Yeah.
and I don't even know if I'm supposed to announce that, but it is what it is. But
We'll
but
cut it if anything.
what Perry does is he gives these kids a platform and an opportunity to express their love for wrestling because it's growing up, not a lot of people were able to do so and had those figures in life to talk to them and put pen to paper, talk about characters that they want to be when they grow up and stuff. So that was something that they do. That's what the wrestling club has done. They've gotten mentions from WWE, from TNA Impact, from AEW. They've had people come in and take those photos and all that stuff. So I was invited to come and speak with them because they had went out to a Battle Club show out in October, and I was wrestling on one of those shows, and the kids kind of really resonated with me, and they really enjoyed my match, and I guess I connected to them on a deeper level, and I was able to see the kids watch my matches, and I've had very good conversations with Perry, the owner of it, who sent me like videos of the kids watching my matches, writing reports on me. So we set it up where it was like, hey man, listen, like let me come and talk to the kids, let me come and do something for them. Because like I said, man, I come from organized sports where I haven't had where people who were in my coaches and all that stuff told me no, and I come from where wrestling was kind of frowned upon. Pro wrestling, I would say, was kind of frowned upon. I couldn't go to school and be like, yo, did you see the pay-per-view? Or yo, did you see Raw? Or did you see this? Because nobody
Yeah.
wanted to talk about that, and it was kind of just me. So I felt like, more or less I was alone. It was a lot of me and my dad. Me and my dad watched wrestling growing up
Really cool.
all the time, and that was it. That was like my friend who I had to talk about this stuff. I had action figures and all that. I had all the action figures. I had a big bin in my room, and when I would have friends or somebody or people come over, I would have to put the bin in my closet because I knew they weren't wrestling fans. So I was always it was always just me or me and my dad. And so I was never going to say no to something of that nature. And it's also, I will never say no to something of that nature because it's what we do it for.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest message, is to inspire the next generation. It's the reason why Homicide is sitting here in a podcast with me, because it's like it's to give it, share that knowledge, that wealth that he has along the way to someone of myself who's just getting started. And it's like, if I could do that for kids who are looking to do something like that, or who are kids who are just dreaming of something on a bigger scale, then absolutely, man, I would never turn that down. So I was able on January 18th to go and talk to these kids, and it was such an experience, man. Like, they were so excited and they were so happy, and I was so nervous, man. I was nervous because it's like, me of all people, like, they want to see me. When I walked into the room, they all screamed and shouted, and it was crazy, man, because it's like, you don't think about that. You think about, like, that 10-year-old kid who was hiding the toys because their friends was coming over. They weren't wrestling fans, so it's like now I have a chance to talk to these kids who has that opportunity to grow and love the the great professional wrestling genre like they can. And it was such a good experience. I would never forget it. I was able to talk to them and sign some stuff for them and take pictures with them. And I just know that like every experience that I was able to have with those kids is going to be something that they remember. So, hopefully I've impacted all of them in such a positive way, like they have impacted me, because it was such a cool experience to be able to do something for them.
I could definitely, yeah. It's really cool. I was gonna say I can relate to hiding the action figures at an early age. I love the passion though that you've got when you talk about that. It's like it's really infectious, really cool you're able to do something like that. Homicide, have you heard of the wrestling club before?
No, I never did, but that is so screw my language. That is so cool. It's a beautiful thing. It's so cool, man. I never heard it, but listen to Joe, man. That's so awesome, man. It's pretty cool, man.
No, I appreciate it, man. I mean, like, I wish that I didn't have the figures and coaches and stuff that I had in my life, and I wish that I had somebody that did something for me, like how I was able to do for those kids. So that's just something that I just wanted to get. I want to give back, not wanted. I want to give back. Like I don't want that to just be the one time that, like, if you're scrolling through Twitter, you see, oh, look at this guy, he went to this school. I want to be able to do that on a constant level. I want to be able to give back as much as I possibly can, because it's like it's what it's about. It's what we do this for, man. It's about giving back. It's about leaving the business better than when you found it. And I think that's like the biggest thing for me is to just be able to give back for that next generation, and I think that's just important.
Absolutely. That's something that I mentioned a little while ago, that there's no future, there's no homicide with no future. Meaning like help me, I gotta give it back. You know what I mean? And I love what I do. And I tell people like, hey man, like I say, if I can do it, you can do it. I'm gonna give you that confidence boost that if you feel like, okay, I need to go this certain place, I need to be on this certain venue, you will get that. You will get. So I completely understand where you're coming from, because I'm the same way. And I'm the type of guy that, man, I went through a struggle, so I want to give it back. It's like it's like wrestling's like a IRS. If you think about it, like like pay your income tax, you will take all that money out, but you get the money
you gotta
back.
give it back.
It's like wrestling. All the BS you go through in wrestling is gonna come back, and good things are gonna happen. I always feel like that. That's why I hate RS.
That's like the best analogy about wrestling.
No, that was a good one. I've never heard of one like that, but that was really good. Yeah, no, I like I said, it's why we're on this podcast now. It's like, you're giving back right now, just doing this for me. And I'll always remember this, and I will always appreciate this, similar to how the kids will always remember and appreciate something like that. So it's just like, it's a full circle, man. I'm still a student. I'm still taking this in. I'm still one of the best pieces of advice was to be a sponge and just take in everything, and be able to learn from all aspects, see things from a different lens, have different flavors of ice creams. There's so many ways to cut it and say it, but it's like, be a sponge, man. And I feel like that being able to do something like that, or being able to sit here and listen to to Homicide talk and give advice, and then go to talk to those kids and kind of spit back what I was getting down, spit back to me. It's just like that. That's what it's about, man. It's just all a cycle, and it's a beautiful cycle nonetheless.
Absolutely, man. It's very phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
And you should be happy with yourself, man. You're doing a great job.
I appreciate it.
It's a beautiful thing, man. I'm telling you, it is.
I appreciate it, my brother. Yeah, it's very nerve-wracking too, man. I just remember you know, the main thing, like sitting in my car afterwards, and I was just like, wow, you know, I kind of
Well,
needed that
everybody
moment.
says to me, you care. You know, that's the one thing I always say. Like, I see somebody, like, so like my matches, I get those butterflies. That means I care. If I'm
Hmm.
nervous, I care. You know, I think that's what that is. You know, you're nervous, meaning you care. You want everything to fulfill, you know, so that's a good thing.
Thank
Especially
you.
New York, man.
Yeah.
Homicide, I want to get into jumping around. I mean, such a legendary career, so long. When you stepped into ROH, I'd love to hear what your first impressions were going in there, just for the first time with such a star-studded locker room, obviously from what everyone turned into, but even back then, like everyone's so young and hungry. And yeah, just what was that like? Could you take us through that and watching the locker room build from there on?
Yeah, so when ECW closed down, we thought that was gonna be the next big thing up to 2000s. When it closed down, of course, everybody was sad, you know. And I always remember I was wrestling in Jersey Pro. I had a bad knee, and I think Ron Feinstein came up to me and told me I'm doing this new company in Philadelphia. I want you to come. I told him, well, I'm in a tag team right now with Boogaloo. We call ourselves the Natural Born Sinners, represent Harflix. I was the Mike Myers fan. He was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Ed Guy fan. And he said, all right, just come, Philly. And I went to the locker room, and at the time, it was like around 2001 at the time, we had different people in locker room. We had New Jersey, New York, Philadelphia, a bunch of independents, no names, and independents. Guys, I never heard Samoa Joe. I never heard Christopher Daniels, Dan O'Brien. We used to be representative of New York. Like nobody's gonna mess with us, you know, because back then we had a kind of war with the Jersey crew, but that's another story. I love to mention later on, but yeah, we just came. We noticed that everybody was very hungry. Everybody wanted that one thing. Ring of Honor was like a joke, just like Homicide. It's supposed to be a one show and that's it. But it became a very phenomenal promotion. People saying it's the next ECW, that all Japan style, because we had every talent in the West Coast, the Midwest, down south, the East Coast. We had everybody. It's like an all-star of the independents coming to Ring of Honor. And we hit a home run. After that, he comes
Mhm.
to the second show, then the third show. I
Yeah.
noticed things is happening, you know. Then, of course, the controversial thing that happened with these guys, you know, new owners came in and he come to fifth with new lighting. The sixth, the seventh. Seven became like maybe the 20th show. We start traveling other places. And I'm like, I think we got something big going on right now because Ring of Honor was like a joke. It's supposed to be a one-time thing and that's it. And it became a phenomenal promotion. And right now, look at the way it is right now, man. Ring of Honor is basically down with Volley Wrestling. Tony Khan got him. So
Yeah.
it's something that I believe in, that Ring of Honor is going to be bigger the way it is right now because it was a joke one time. And man, I'm just grateful and blessed I was part of the original and it's still going on right now. And I don't care who's the new owners, Tony Khan's the new owner. I believe that he's gonna make it good because I know the people in the back they're gonna make it good. Christopher Daniels, one of the godfathers of Ring of Honor, he's there, so I know that he's gonna make that promotion really good.
Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, some of the greatest, and I think the feud you're talking about. I mean, I love the CZW, the Cage of Death. I just watched it again last night. That was one of the craziest builds I've ever seen. You coming out there in that Cage of Death match. The people exploded. really one of my favorite matches. Probably you have memories of that night, that whole feud, really.
I didn't want to do with it. That's the funny thing. I don't want to be part of it. Like at the time, Gabe was the promoter, and he was telling me, "Homicide, you need to do this." I was like, "Hell no, I don't want to do this." I don't know why, but I don't want to do it. Then one day he just told me, I'm like, "Okay, let's do it." And I heard my music, and I felt like Steve Austin wrestling Massacre Garden. So I was like, "Oh my God, this is big," And yeah, it's kind of funny that I didn't want to do it. That's the funny thing. Hey, Gabe told me, "I'm telling you, it's gonna be good," and it was one of those. Okay, I'll be right, and he was 100% right. To this day, I'm still bugging out about that situation. I don't know. I don't want to be part of this, and it became something that's part of history. So thank you, Gabe. Thank you, Ring of Honor.
That's crazy. I can't believe you didn't want to do it until right up to the moment, because I mean, it's just like I said, it's an iconic moment in that history of that company. Well, Joe, to throw it to you, I'm curious, like similar to Homicide, like his early days in the company and feeling that locker room, that camaraderie. Like, do you have any memories of some of the promotions you worked for? Obviously, Battleweight champion now with them. Any memories of walking in first days in some of the promotions?
I think what stems out to me right now is when I first went out to Black Label Pro out in Crown Point, Indiana.
Oh yeah.
That was my very first time going into a locker room and legitimately like shitting myself. Like that was I walked in there and Homicide I mentioned, but I walked into the locker room and I looked to my left and there's Christopher Daniels. I looked to my right and there's Chris Bay. I looked to in front of me there's Jake something, that massive Jake something, and I look behind me there's Effie, and I look next to me there's Brian Keefe, and I'm in this locker room with so many people. And I just remember kind of just leaving the locker room, going aside, going back to the car, and I was just like, man, what the what's going on right now? Like, like, should I be here? Do I belong here? So many things had ran through my head, and how we were talking about earlier, that point of feeling like you were drowning. In that moment, I felt like I was drowning. In that moment, I was like, bro, do I belong here? And at this point, I was about a year and 8 months into wrestling, not even a year in a year and 8 months into my wrestling and my wrestling training. I hit the ground running kind of thing. From my fourth or fifth month of training, I was starting to hit the road, and I'm forever blessed for that. But at some points, very much like scared, because I'm in this locker room with so many people. Christopher Daniels, who's someone that I remember watching on TV all my life. So I'm in this locker room with so many people that I have seen, and Chris Bay, Ace Austin, Jake something, people who are currently on TV, people who are currently doing amazing things in independent wrestling. I had that moment where I was like, oof, this is this is kind of crazy. And then as the show went on, as time went on, I was able to chop it up with all these people and have great conversations and build connections and network. And that's the beauty of 2023. It's like, oh, can I follow you on Twitter, or can I follow you here? And it's and that's kind of like the icebreaker on conversations nowadays. But it's I think that day in Black Label Pro was kind of the biggest day for me, where I went into a locker room and I was like, woof, like this is insane. I've been fortunate to go into different companies and promotions and go into locker rooms and recognize someone at least, and see someone and be like, oh, hey, what's up? And not feel completely like a fish out of water. But I think that time in Black Label Pro, where it was like, this is people who are on Impact, people who are the who's who, in independent wrestling right now. There's Christopher Daniels right there. I felt like that was like the first time I was a fish out of water, because I was like, bro, wow, like do I deserve to be here right now? Like, should I be here right now? And that was kind of what was running through my head for a majority of the day. But I was able to talk to these people and kind of pick their brains, and then start to connect and start to network. And it was nerve-wracking, but it ended up being very special, because it was what I needed it was what I needed so early on into my career. It was what I needed to see. I needed to see how these people operate. You know, I needed to see how these people perform at these are some of the highest performing people on the highest level. You know, I'm in the locker room and I get to see, you know, Christopher Daniels prepare for a match, and once that music hits, I'm right there. I'm watching him right about to go out, and that's kind of like, I never thought I'd be in that position, man. You know, and I needed that. You know, I needed to see all these things because it made it very real for me. It made it seem very capable and doable for me, and that feeling of, oof, should I be here, kind of disappeared, and it went to like, man, I can't wait till I'm in the position to go out there and do the same exact thing that they're doing right now at the highest level that they're doing right now. So it turned from very nerve-wracking to very motivating. And I was going to transition that into a question that I had for Homicide, because like he had mentioned, you know, that first, that 01, that 02 run with Ring of Honor, where it was like that was kind of like the first time in independent wrestling where you had seen so many people from so many parts of the country and link up in this one place. And that's kind of how it was with Black Label Pro. Like, did you have that feeling as well, where you were like, oh, whoa, what is going on right now, you know?
Yeah, I think so. I was more of the guy that I don't want nobody to come and try to take our spotlight, if that makes sense, because we had a little history to New York and New Jersey during the 90s. The New Jersey guys didn't want New York to be booked. So we was losing money, losing everything. And one day I had it, and the realness came out of me, and I told them off, everybody from New Jersey. And I was more worried about people coming and trying to focus on their territory and not ours, because we wanted to be one brand. We want to be a team. I feel that there's egos in wrestling. There's no team in wrestling. And I think in wrestling, it should be a team. Everybody should be looking out for each other. Everybody's doing the same thing. They're making money. They're making a name for themselves. There's no I guy. There's no sense. I know if you put in my team, there's not gonna be that one guy, you know. Nah, everybody's a teammate. So back in the days with Nevada, maybe it was more like a territory kind of thing that I was more focused about, but I had some few butterflies. Like I say, there was a bunch of people that I had no clue who they was. I didn't even know who was the Mega Dragon. They knew whatever his name is. The Fallen Angel, Christopher Daniels. I know Loki, he's one of my students. There's other guys like Samoa Joe, come from the West Coast. I didn't know who was CM Punk. I just knew they wrestled in a different territory. And I always remember it was me and Julius Smoke, J-Train. We was in the club. And I think Samoa Joe came to us. Hey guys, my name's Samoa Joe. He had like a broken finger or something. And he was so cool, you know, like he wanted. I think he was a little bit nervous coming from the West Coast, going to the East Coast, and making sure that nobody's gonna bully him. Like, this is our territory. Like, nah, man. I told Joe, man, you part of the family, man. It's gonna be none of that. You know, I was the locker room leader at the time. It was me, Joe, CM Punk. But after that, I told Joe, nah, everybody's cool. You know, any problems, let me know. But thank you for coming, you know, to me and talk to me. He became one of my best friends in wrestling, you know, because that talk, you know, because there's no I on team, man. It's everybody just focused on one brand. And I feel that Ring of Honor is the way it is right now, even though it's in streaming, wouldn't be Netflix, whatever it is, but it's still alive. It's because everybody's a team. There's no egos, you know. There's no this one guy who's going to control the locker room. Nah, everybody is focused. Everybody wants the same goals. They want to make good business. So it's a good thing about Ring of Honor, man. Like I said, I'm very blessed about Ring of Honor that they're still here. And it's just crazy, man. A bunch of nobodies all over the world came to this company in Philadelphia, and half of them blew up. So it's crazy. Like I tell my kids one time, you see that guy right there? Yeah, I beat his ass. I'm talking about American Dragon. And I was like, no, Dad, you never beat him up. I got some tapes. And see? Boy, you know? But same thing with Samoa Joe, but I still talk to them to this day. You know, they're good peoples, man. I'm just happy where they are right now, and I feel that's the main thing too. Like I feel like people like Joe, CM Punk, even guys that I don't know, like FTR, I met them one time. To me, they're like one of the best tag teams in the world. I feel like anybody can make it, man. Just like I said earlier today, if I can make it, Joe can make it, all these guys can make it, people like yourself, Joe, can make it, anybody can make it. If you feel like, man, I don't know, this is too hard for me, oh, stop it. Cry me a river. Like, you can make it. That gotta have the heart, man. Be motivated to yourself, man. Like, it will help you if you watch old tapes of Ring of Honor. Like, I'm talking about like the very first show and seeing them right now. Some of them got personal issues they cannot make it to the rest of the business, but you got some that made it. You know, they're still on TV, you know, and they're still blessed, you know. And I think there's that one guy that is a quitter. Like, oh, I'm giving up. This is too much for me. Like, I can't do this. I'm drowning. I think it's not one guy who's like that. The person who never made it is because they got personal issues. They got to focus on their family, you know, their wealth, and anything. But I think it was no quitter, man. I really think that it's not quitter. It's just crazy right now. A bunch of nobodies became somebody. So it's kind of cool, man. It's real cool.
Very cool, man. And I think, like, you know, I resonate with that because, like, in that moment when I was, you know, in that moment with at Black Label, and I was seeing everybody, and when it turned into motivation, when it stopped becoming fear and turned into motivation, I was like, man, like, I could do this. Like, you know, I could be here. I'm here for a reason. You know, I'm in this locker room, and I'm wrestling on this show for a reason. You know, so like that turned into that motivation where it's like I could make it to that highest level. I could be a part of this, a part of this in a very, very high level, and that fear turned into motivation, and it kind of it's a day that will always resonate with me as well.
Yeah, man. Like, you know this guy named Hodaka, the Rainmaker for New Japan Pro Wrestling?
Yeah.
It's like, he's the man. So anyway, long time ago, he was my partner for TNA Wrestling. He was Kato. He had a BS.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. It was so bad. So a lot of people don't know that me and Samoa Joe kind of trained him. It was also was not Tanishi. I forgot his Naito. He was one of them. They had a tactic called No Limits. Anyway, Okada was my partner. He was like, I would not say a whatever guy, but when you look at him, you be like, this guy got no future. He's not gonna be that number one guy in the world. Man, he proved people wrong. Right now, I seen him a couple of weeks ago. It was so cool that he remembered me. Got up and said, "Yo, Homicide, how you doing? Long time no see." I'm looking at him like, bro, you took all of the world, bro. Forget about John Cena, Roman Reigns. It's about the Rainmaker right now. And man, I'm so proud of him because he was I wouldn't say nobody, he is somebody, but he was one of those guys that people feels that this guy's gonna be a nobody. And TNA made a major mistake. You know, they give him a BS character, BS everything, and he went back to Japan, and look, he blew up. He became the Rainmaker. And now he's one of those top guys, not only in Japan, but all over the world. You know?
Yeah.
So that kind of motivated me even more because like earlier today, man, you told me that I'm very humble and yeah, my brother don't like it. I'm humble. Sometimes I gotta be a douchebag, but it's the way I am, man. And I never forget where I came from. And I was very humble for like maybe 28 years. You know, I never had this ego. Like, yeah, look, man, I still go back to my own neighborhood, the projects. You know, even though I got a gun, but that's a different story. You know, but when I saw Daka, man, that kind of motivated me even more now. You know, because he still remembers me. You know, and I don't know what it is, man. I became a better wrestler. Like, he give me that fire. And I'm very confident now. I am one of the best. I'm very underground, key, but I'm very confident. I always tell people, be confident yourself, man. Be the best. That's who I am. I'm very confident that I'm one of the best in the world. And Odaka, of all people, like he became a nobody to somebody, and he remembered me, and man, it lit a fire up my ass, man. And it kind of took me to another level, you know. So motivation is also good. It's a good thing, you know. It's not bad. And people say motivation is a bad thing, man. They lying.
Well, Homicide, to ask you one person specifically, one person in particular I want to ask you about is someone who could do a great impression of you. I know you even the friendship between you guys is really cool to see. You even fought him in a strip club, I think, and that's CM Punk. And I just love how every time I've heard you talk about him, you've stuck with him, no matter what's being said about him right now. And I'm just curious about that friendship, if you could talk about that a little bit.
Man, I he's an asshole, but he's a good kid. Like, you always got one friend who's a douche, but he's so cool. But CM Punk has always been real to me. He came from Chicago to Ring of Honor. He said, "Hey, how you doing? My name is Phil, aka CM Punk," and we clicked right away. Of course, he was straight edge. I was another version of the Cypress Hills, but whatever. But um, he always been so cool with me, and that street club is kind of funny you mention that because
That's a funny match.
he's
Yeah.
a he's a controversial guy too, you know. And when I tell you, like, man, I don't give a whatever. I don't give a fuck. Let's do whatever. He said the same thing. Hey, man, how about we go to the front of the strip club? Because it was a venue and everything was attached. So it was in the back area. And the back we went around and went to a strip club. Man, little strippers was pissed off, especially St. Paul. That the owners told St. Paul, you need to apologize to the strippers. I mean, he called them a whore. I think it was funny, but they was pissed off. And I also remember this last show. He got signed for WWE. He never forgot where he came from, man. I remember I won the title Ring of Honor, and he was signed WWE. Took a plane and went to New York City and saw me wrestle. And to this day, I still talk to him. And that's the one thing I love about people. Never forget where he came from. The guy's a millionaire. He don't need to wrestle no more. He could retire right now. He still calls me. To me, that's crazy because I got this attitude like, you're a billionaire. You're gonna forget the little people. Not so much Joe, but with CM Punk, man, a lot of people tell me a lot of bad, negative things, and I don't believe it, man. Look, man. One of my best friends, his name is Eddie Kingston, and Eddie hates him. I can't. I will support him no matter what, but I cannot say like if he tells me go over there and punch CM Punk in the face, I won't do it. I can't do it, man, because I got much respect for him, man. He never forget where he came from. He never became a douchebag towards me. The first time I went to All Elite Wrestling, I think it was in Queens. I was somewhere and he was in the ring practicing. He stopped practicing, jump over the ring and give him a big hug. I didn't see him like
cool.
for like 5, 6, 10 years.
Wow.
And It was so cool, man. A lot of people don't like him. To be honest with you, I don't know why. It is what it is. That's their part. But to me, Homicide, I love CM Punk. That's my dude. You know, like I say, he never forget where he came from. Man, I respect people who does that, especially a guy that left and went to WWE, went to only wrestling. He don't need to wrestle. The guy is like a millionaire. You don't need to wrestle, and he still calls me. So I think that's very cool, man. A lot of people need to learn from that. Now, I heard negative stories. I'm dog. I don't know nothing about that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely controversial, but I love it so much that you're able to still stand by him no matter. I mean, and I'm on the outside, obviously, as a fan, but it's cool to see that you kept that relationship over all those years from the Ring of Honor days and everything. And Joe, obviously, there's a really cool experience, like we said, speaking of the wrestling club and Black Label Pro sounded really great. Are there now dream opponents, maybe people you saw when you were at Black Label or anything, or bucket list people in the near future you'd like to cross off for you as we head into the new year?
Yeah, so like my biggest thing right now is that I'm a junior heavyweight, battle weight, middleweight, whatever you want to call it, cruiserweight. That's my division. That's I don't like to classify things as like divisions in wrestling because the matchups in wrestling are from A to Z. You know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
it's the wonderful world of pro wrestling is something else. You'll find a matchup in anything, right? But I find myself I love the junior heavyweight style. That's something that I always came up with. In TNA, the X division, you know what I mean? It was something that has always resonated with me. I was never the biggest person in any room I walked in. So that's something that has always resonated with me. And I think when I was at Black Label and I saw Chris Bay, Christopher Daniels, Ace Austin, those are all people that I've always wanted to share the ring with, and being in a podcast right now with Homicide, another one who put that X division mountaintop, and that's something that has always resonated with me as well. I would say also with people that are on the independent scene on a level not far from me, where it's like Alec Price, TJ Crawford, Montekia, Smiley, those are people
great.
that are around the area. Yeah, so Encore, who I'm gearing up. I'm about to wrestle pretty soon. Desmond Cole, Dom De Niro, Gabe Sky, like these are all people that are classified in that cruiserweight, junior heavyweight kind of division that I want to go out there and I want to wrestle because I think it's a beautiful style of wrestling. I think you could classify that like junior heavyweights kind of style of wrestling as a style. It's like a
Definitely.
mesh of
Yeah.
it's like a mesh of you watch Dean Malenko. A lot of what I watch is like you watch a Dean Malenko versus a Rey Mysterio back in WCW, and you see how those styles clash and how that meshes and all that stuff. You see an Amazing Red versus you see an Amazing Red versus a Jay Lethal or something on TNA, and it's like you see how those styles clash and whatnot as well. And then it's like it's just something that I've always learned to appreciate. And then you look at New Japan as well, where it's like Hiromu Takahashi is someone that I've always wanted to wrestle. I love his style, his character. I love the fact that he's won that Super Junior Cup like 4 times, so he just sits on like a mountaintop above the rest, and that's something that has resonated with me as well. So one of my biggest goals in wrestling is to become one of the best quote unquote junior heavyweights on the planet, and that's something right now that I want to continue to just chip away at. Little by little. I think it's just an underappreciated style as well.
Yeah. No, that's such a cool, well thought out goal too. I love that you picked that niche and you're going to dominate it. I could totally see it. Really, that's awesome. Homicide, really, same question for you, except 28 years later. Are there still people that you want to get in that ring with?
Oh man, I did everybody. Well, I did pick Cody Rhodes. It was one of the guy because I'm a big West Texas guy with Terry Funk, Dust Rhodes. I wrestled Secret Rule so many times. I wrestled his son. But I would say Cody Rhodes would be my number one. You know, right now I'm just very happy where I'm at. I wrestled Minoru Suzuki, who's one of my Japanese heroes. One of my heroes can't wrestle. His name is Masahiro Chono. He was that one guy. I wrestled Kujima. I even took his moves. So, um, man, Liger, I wrestled him. When I got to Mexico, Penta, Phoenix, I wrestled them.
Yeah, man.
It's like my list. I just want to be remembered. You know, I don't want to be a millionaire. I want to be like, if I walk away right now, like 10 years later, somebody will say, "Hey, do you remember that Homicide? He was a bad mofo." That's how I want. You know, I was tell a joke, but this joke became real. Like, I got a 2-year daughter, and she never gonna know what I hate. I don't want to teach her wrestling, and one day her friends could see me on TV. Of course, could be on VHS or maybe on CD, but my daughter's gonna say, "Hey, that's my dad. He's so corny, right? Like, I don't know what it is. I want that, you know, but." If I say a list, it would be Cody Rhodes. I think that'd be my final. If not, it is what it is. You know, I'm just happy to be here. Like I said, my major goal is I just want to be remembered. You know, like a cat who came from nobody is a somebody, and influence everybody that feels like, I don't know if I could do this. That's BS. If Homicide could do it, I could do it too. You know, and like I said, 10 years later, I want somebody, do you remember Homicide? Yeah, man, that was a bad mofo. Mind you, he's only 5'7". He's like Joe Pesci's Goodfellas. He's a bad mofo, you know?
That's a good one.
I think that's like one of my major goals, because like I said, this is my so-called road to the end. No, even though, people talk a lot of crap, but I feel that it's about the time because my body's wearing down. Man, I wear glasses now. My eyes damaged. I feel like rocking ball right now, man. So I will tell people, the greatest advice I tell people, including yourself, Joe, check yourself, man. I tell people I finished school. I used to be a dropout, man. Used to be. I am a dropout. I dropped out of high school. I became a gambagger. When I wrestled, I did, before death wrestling was cool, I did hardcore stuff. Mind you, I don't like hardcore. I love catch wrestling. That's my style. But I gotta pay the bills. So hardcore wrestling was like thing for me. And I never checked myself. Damages. Now I had maybe more than 20 concussions. They say you can have 3 or 4. I might have 20. So my whole right side is kind of like, like I got a bad vision. I got a speech problem. Like sometimes I talk like I'm drunk, but I'm not. And I love beer, but I'm not drunk. Sometimes I feel tingling in my right fingertips. And I always tell people, man, like, always check yourself, man. Especially, I'm 45. I'm gonna be 46 March 20. I'll be wrestling for 29 years on March 5th. And I never take breaks. I'm like Bret Hart. I never took breaks. I never had a 9-to-5 job. I'm always wrestling. And it will haunt you back. That's I always tell people. I'm telling you right now, man, check yourself. Of course, when I was young, when somebody used to tell me that, man, whatever, I'll be okay. That's BS. I should have listened, because right now I am feeling it. I'm not bad like other people are, but man, if I keep doing what I'm doing and never check myself, I'm gonna be walking with a walker for like in 5 years. So I always tell people, finish school, and always check yourself. You never know what can happen, man. Because your body's your temple, and you need your brain. You know, if you have so many concussions like me, God forbid, knock on wood, something bad could happen. You know, right now I got a bad vision. I got a speech problem. For some reason, I could do a lot of things that I'm very surprised I could do. So I'm always telling people, check yourself and finish school. If you don't, you'll be in the corner of McDonald's begging for Chinese food or some dollars or whatever. So yeah, man, check yourself.
Oh, I mean, that's great advice. Hamza, you're just really a bunch of great advice this whole show. Thank you so much. You know, off the dream opponents you mentioned, I don't know if you're currently watching do you watch WWE, the current product? You keep up with what's happening?
I did. Yeah. But I went to Jay Briscoe funeral. I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, last week. And Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn was there. And I know them like Jersey Pro, Canada, Ring of Honor, and it's something about Sammy. I need to see his product. I never watched WWE, so now I do because I watch the Bloodline. My daughter loved the Usos. That's what I hate this so much. But yeah, I watched the product and I just watched the Bloodline gimmick and man, it's very. I love it. It's like I don't know. It's like a movie. It's a great storyline.
Yeah.
I'm loving it.
It's really cool what they're doing. The person I was going to bring up specifically was Dominic Mysterio, who he looks like he's getting a big reputation on the streets himself. And I don't know. I was just going to say if the real Notorious 187 might give him a run for his money, Prison Dom there.
Yeah, you know, I will say something, but I don't want to get you in trouble, you know.
Yeah.
Just say American me when the guy with the knife. That's all I gotta say. Okay, if you remember, you know, if he keeps up with the street knowledge, he's gonna meet up with bad people, you know, and yeah, something bad's gonna happen to him. So he needs to be careful, you know. I know that he becomes around my hood, mind you. I think his corner's something Godfather or something. It's something. He's related to the family. And me and Corner never talked about this, but Corner did spoke Dominic about Homicide, and he always telling you know this kid named Homicide from the East Coast. He's like legit, so you need to be careful when you go to the East Coast. So I don't know what was the reaction, but yeah, he needs to be careful with that, you know, with the left. But really, it is pretty funny. Like I kind of enjoy it.
No, it's so funny, what they're doing, but that's great. No, going back to you, Joe, though, we're gonna start to wind it down. Thank you both so much for staying so long too. It's been such a cool experience so far. Joe, for you, we heard about what you want to accomplish as like the long-term goal in your career, which was really cool. Any short-term goals or things we should look out for on the horizon for Joe Alexander?
I definitely, so this year it's crazy because I was just up at Let's Wrestle in Maine last weekend. Nice. and Randy Carver, the promoter for said promotion, him and I had a really good conversation about short-term goals this past year. And one of the goals that I had mentioned to him, and one that honestly, like I kind of just said it, like it kind of just like came out, you know, like some things just fly off the tongue. And then, you know, when I had the time to sit and like think about it, I was like, yo, you know what? Like actually, hell yeah. I want to wrestle 100 matches this year. Like I want to wrestle 100 matches this year and so on and so forth for as long as I can do it. I've been blessed to be pretty healthy. My very first year, my rookie year last year, I suffered a knee injury, and my junior year in high school was my last year of amateur wrestling. I totally shot my knee out and I needed to get surgery. So like suffering a knee injury last year was something where I was like, oof, you know, I kind of gotta like take it easy, like Homicide was saying, check yourself out, take care of yourself. Your body is your temple, you know. So that was something where I was like, damn, I gotta kind of tone it back. But I feel like I'm in such a good position. I feel like I'm the healthiest I've ever been, the most motivated, the most consistent, the hardest working that I have ever been in my entire life, which is, you know, cool, good to say now, considering that I'm 22 years old and there's many, you know, many years to come of hard work and dedication, and transforming, you know, my body and stuff like that. But I feel like this is some of the best shape that I've ever been in, and I think I'm ready to take on that challenge. And I want to wrestle 100 matches this year, and not only just, you know, wrestle 100 matches this year, but I want to put on the best quality and best performances I can this year.
Definitely an achievable goal too. No, that's great. That's a really good short-term goal. So cool to hear you thinking about all that too. Homicides, really, you already answered what you want your legacy. You just want to be remembered. Anything else though that you'd want for your legacy before you do hang up those boots on this, like you said, stone cold journey?
Not only that I want to remember, but I want like people that like Joe and the rest of the guys that feel they cannot make it, you know, just prove people wrong, you know, like you can do this, you know, that never give up, man. That's like telling someone's telling you about you look ridiculous with that tuxedo, but I tell you this, you look great with that goddamn tuxedo.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I appreciate that.
You know, that's shoot. Like, come on, bro. Like, nobody does a podcast with a tuxedo. That's awesome.
That's it. That's, you got to make it memorable somehow. Yeah.
No, exactly. That's one of my major point, man. I always have a great memory because one of my best memories was a couple years ago. I wrestled Minoru Suzuki, and after the match, he said, "Thank you, New York City, and thank you, FN Homicide." If you look at the tape, I look at my boys. I'm like, I can't believe they say that.
Wow.
And that was like 2 years ago, and I wrestled like guys like Liger. I teamed up with Kenta Kobashi. My trainers, Manny Fernandez. I wrestled my idol, Terry Funk. But with that, it was like, wow, that. Man, it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling. A lot of people, man, appreciate what you got, man. But you never know. You never know. And like you, Joe, you're gonna have that memory is gonna be stuck by you. I'll guarantee you the next 10 years, 10, 20 years, we're gonna talk about this. Like, yo, I can't believe I wrestled Dragalaga, whatever, man. It was phenomenal. You know, I just believe this. And I always tell people, man, always have that great memory. That's why I like to be humble and never forget where I came from, because I see so many dickheads, excuse my language, and you know, a lot of people with ego trips and then forget where they came from, man. Karma hits them, you know, they feel like they're the top of the world and they will drown. They will drown like the talent, you know. I don't know if that's too far, but like, but yeah, man, just keep your hopes up, man. You got this. FN the haters, you got this. You know, like I said,
absolutely, I appreciate it,
job,
man.
Club, you know what I mean? And you do your thing, you know. Don't pay attention with the negative people, man. Always be positive, you know what I'm saying? And this is what you want, achieve your goals. You got this.
Yeah, man. I appreciate that, man. Like, you know, to just give back real quick, you know, like you've been such a bigger part of my life, and you know, growing up seeing, you know, you on TV, and then I was there at the Grand Slam at AEW in the crowd, and that was while I was training, not necessarily wrestling, but that was where I was training. So, you know, seeing you come out and at night where it's like that pop and all that stuff. So it's like, and I was able to see you wrestle live a handful of times. So thank you, man, for paving the way for people like me. You know, that will always resonate with me. Like I said, you know, with those kids, I won't forget the visit that I gave them. I will never forget this, because, you know, you're taking time out of your day to give me this advice, talk to me, to share a little bit of your health and wealth, and display it on me, man. I will never forget that. So I just wanted to thank you and extend that thank you.
Thank you for your kind words, man. And I believe you. You got this.
Yeah, man. Hopefully before time's up, man. I'll see you down that road, man.
Yeah, definitely. It's just the planet is very small. We only got billions of people on this planet, so it's a short world. So, and I'm like around the corner, so you never know.
Yeah. Yep.
No, you definitely never know. Well, thank you both again. I mean, this was so cool to just sit in on and watch. I mean, that finishes us off.
Thank you.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me.
Rewind, Recap, Relive. For over 50 episodes, the revolutionary force in wrestling interviews.